What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is Hawk Talk on Melrose. Thank you for tuning in. Tyler, we brought back the trophy. It is a Hawkeye State. Feels so good. Iowa winning 20-13 yesterday. You were almost spot on.
I
I
know.
think your prediction was 20-14. I was 17-13. But man, it feels good. I know it wasn't pretty, but a win's a win. And whenever you play on the road against a in-state rival, like it's going to be hard, especially since Iowa State they're a good coaching staff, Matt Campbell. I mean, I don't care the players that they lost and blah, blah, blah. Like it's tough to win. And so a win's a win. We got the trophy back. We're 2-0 heading into Western Michigan, and life is good. What's going on, Tyler?
What's going on? Yeah, waking up today with a win against Iowa State is always a great way to start. And at especially the first week of NFL football. So
Yep.
we got football to follow. I know you had a concert last night, the Morgan Wallen concert, that you were able to actually enjoy
With the win. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So it's a great weekend. It's a good weekend to be a Hawk, that's for sure. Yeah, like you said, man, just coming out with a victory in Ames is always a great feeling. And we've done it. What is that, 5-6 times in a row now?
The last time that we have lost in Ames was 2011. I know we didn't bring that up in the pod last week. I kind of forgot about that, but yeah, it's been over a decade since we have lost in Ames. The people that were at my place yesterday, I actually mentioned that before the game. It's like we almost play better when we play at Jack Trice Stadium versus when we play in Kinnick, which is kind of weird to think that. And it's kind of vice versa for Iowa State. I feel like they played better when they play in Kinnick than but
it's weird. You almost have that kind of nothing to lose mentality when you're on the road almost.
Yeah, and I think just the fans chirping at you, I think you just get more amped up. You get more pumped. And I really do think Iowa, although they didn't really say anything before the game, but I think Iowa some of these players kind of had it out from what happened last year. After the game, there were some things that happened that some of the players talked post game where like Iowa State, when they won, they did some things. They kind of went in the way of where they go back in the tunnel, and it kind of some of the players they kind of took personal. And so I know a couple of months ago when the head of Swarm or whatever invited some guys out for dinner, he asked like, which game do you want to win the most? And like the consensus was Iowa State. So I think this was one of those games where I think Iowa really won it.
Yeah, there was a lot of extra motivation that I feel like I didn't realize, like you said, until after the game when you heard those players talk about it.
Yeah.
Iowa State players dancing and kind of going into their swarm area after the game and just kind of, rubbing it in that they finally got the victory, which, I mean, they beat us. So I'm sure obviously they were pumped to finally get us. But no, I think you're right. There was a lot of extra motivation from our side, which going into this game, you always feel like on Iowa State side, they've been the underdog. You thought all the motivation would have been on their side, and it seemed like we actually had quite a bit on ours as well. So it was good.
Yep.
But yeah, man, just super glad to come out with a win. And like you said, and I think we predicted it, very, very ugly, very grinded out kind of game. The stats are not going to be pretty offensively, probably for either team. We said that going in. It's just, man, whoever can close the deal and get the dub is what's important. So I'm happy.
Yeah, let's start with Iowa's offense. I know it hasn't been pretty with Iowa's offense through 2 weeks. It's been better than last year, but I'm still like optimistic. I'm seeing those glimpses of like we are very, very close. I think Cade right now, I think the biggest problem, and it's not really a problem, I just think it's rust by Cade. I mean, you're talking a guy that didn't play really all last year. He didn't play spring ball because he was hurt. He was out 2 weeks during fall camp. Like you're just seeing kind of that rust. And my hope is that as the weeks go on, we start connecting on some of those plays. Like you talked yesterday, we once again kind of left a lot of plays out on the field. You're talking the Seth Anderson 91-yard touch, should have been a touchdown. That was a great move by Seth Anderson, that double move. If Cade just has a second, and if he just a little bit better of a throw. Yeah, it was a great call. It was a great call, but it's one of those plays. You got to execute on that.
Yeah.
And that's just something where like, I'm optimistic because I feel like at some point we are going to get there. Another play was like Devontae Vines, like he kind of underthrew him there. Like he doesn't underthrow him. You're talking a huge gain. I don't know if he scores on that play, but you're talking a huge gain. So like, there's just different things that like it sucks because it's like, God dang it, like we got to connect on some of these, but you're at
Yeah.
least seeing like the building blocks. Last year, like you could not say that. There was not one point after the Iowa State game last year where we've played 2 games, we played South Dakota State, Iowa State. There was not one point where you'd be like, okay, well, at least like, we're seeing something. No, like there was nothing. At least this year we're seeing some hope. And as long as like Cade just continues, and I honestly thought like injury wise, like he looked pretty good yesterday. And I know Kirk said after the game that he's in a much better place than he was a week ago. So like if he continues to progress and he continues to kind of work off the rust, I think it's going to get there. It's just going to maybe take some time.
Yeah, that's the other part I was going to add is I think it's rust, but it also might be some of that quad injury. That affects
it does.
your mechanics, you're throwing. You might think about it a little bit more than you have to. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think that all plays a part of it. But yeah, I think the rust is definitely the major factor, obviously. But then, the main takeaway through 2 weeks, and I 100% agree with you, is my level of optimism for where I think the offense could be or get to is so much higher than what it was last year. Through 2 weeks last year, we were in full-blown panic mode. And that is not the sense that I get from anyone listening or reading about with this offense. So, and even us talking about it. So that's a totally different feeling. And I agree with you. I'm happy that there's plays yet to be made. We obviously just have to execute. And yeah, we haven't really been able to execute very well so far through 2 weeks, and that's obviously got to change, but the plays are there. It's not like where last year where we're essentially screwed on offense, right?
Yeah, there's nothing we could do.
Right. And so that is promising. And I'm, like you said, I'm very excited to hopefully see that start to get better here in the next coming.
You can tell there's a sense by Cade, like he wants to get the wide receivers involved. It's just, once again, it's like it's timing and it's all that.
Right.
Pass blocking. Yeah. Yes, exactly. There's a lot of new pieces. And I just like, for example, this next week, Western Michigan, great opportunity to kind of work some things out, right? Because like there are things that, like I said, we're leaving plays out on the field. Hopefully next week against a really bad Western Michigan team, we can start kind of getting that as we head into conference week or conference games.
Real quick, and I was just going to say, you touched on it. It's like it's hard to execute and be perfect against probably one of the better defenses we're playing all year. So
that's true.
Credit to Iowa State there, and it's not going to look pretty against that defense. That's for sure.
No, Iowa State's defense, although they lost some pieces, obviously after last year, you're talking Will McDonald, great player, but they still have some really good pieces. And just kind of like Iowa, John Heacock is such a good defensive coordinator for Iowa State that even when they lose some guys, like it doesn't matter. Like they're going to be good again. Like their foundation on defense is just so good. And I mean, when you look at Iowa's schedule, like you look at all the teams and you try to rank like who has the best defenses. I'm still going to go Penn State at number 1, clearly, but then you might put Iowa State at number 2. Like honestly, like I don't know.
You could argue that.
I mean. You look like Nebraska has a better defense. I mean, although first half looked good yesterday, second half not really. Illinois clearly does not have a very good defense that Minnesota, we maybe were led to believe. Yeah, Minnesota maybe, but I would maybe put Iowa State at 2 or 3, especially their secondary. Their secondary is really good. And so, and you kind of saw that yesterday with Cade as he was going more to the tight ends. And I think because like he knew that, like it's tough to get our wide receivers open when you're going up against, TJ Tampa, who's going to be an NFL player someday. Like their secondary is very, very good. So pass blocking yesterday, I thought was still pretty good. I obviously after the Utah State game, I was like, okay, well, we're playing Utah State. I mean, let's see it. And like yesterday going up against a better defensive line, I thought for the most part, they played pretty well. Now there was a couple plays in there where obviously Cade, was kind of hurried a little bit, but I thought it was still encouraging. Run blocking, still not good, but it was at least better than the Utah State game.
Yeah, it showed signs of life, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
it showed some promise, but I agree, still a work in progress. Still have to improve on that. Because overall, I mean it's been tough sledding to get Caleb Johnson going, and I know maybe we'll touch on him a little bit, and Jazzy and Patterson.
Well, we could talk about that now. I mean, like you. I mean, do you like Patterson? Because like for me, like I'm really liking what I see out of that guy.
what I'll say is this: he's making the most of his opportunities when he gets into the game, and so far, it's actually shown some promise. And
Yep.
I know we'll talk about it here. We've talked off camera a little bit, even on over the phone and texting. It's like it just seems like Jazzy and Patterson has a different gear.
He
I don't
does.
know. I'm not saying he's better than Caleb Johnson. I'm not going to go there. I'm just saying I think he is a downhill runner. He's a one cut kind of guy. He hits the hole and he's full speed ahead.
Yep.
And I think with this offensive line, that's not great right now in run blocking. He doesn't worry about the whole, waiting and being as patient as Caleb Johnson and maybe waiting for those plays to open up and develop those holes. He sees a hole, he hits it, he goes. And I thought you saw it on some crucial third downs where he was able to execute and get the first down. And then
Yep.
obviously the long rush. I off the top of my head, I can't remember how long of a rush
Was
it
it,
was.
was it like it was at least 50 yards, 50, 55
Yeah,
yards.
it was. Yeah, yep. It was at least a 50-yard run, and that was super exciting to see, especially early on in the game.
Yep.
I
First
mean, that
drive.
was a huge momentum. Yeah, huge momentum swing right there for the offense. So Caleb, it just seemed, I don't know what it is. I'm not, I don't know what it is right now. I just think it's almost like he's being too patient and he's kind of waiting for something to open up and develop, and it's closing quickly. It almost seems like before he can get going.
Yeah, I think with Caleb, I think when teams put 8, 9 guys in the box, which they do a lot against us, I think that's when like we are in a disadvantage with Caleb out there because he's not quick enough. When you have those many guys coming at you, like with at least like Jazz like he might be able to get it. Like he's so fast that he might be able to hit the hole fast enough where he can get by some of these guys. But with Caleb, I just think it's just one of those things. There's no knock on him. It's just I think with how bad our offensive line sometimes is run blocking, like I think it's just so hard for a guy that is more of like a east to west runner. It feels like more than like a north to south where you're just really hitting the hole, right?
Right.
And
Well,
once again, like
the other
Caleb
thing
is,
is,
or
I
yeah,
was gonna
you
say the other
continue.
thing is the defense stacking the box as much against Jazzy and Patterson compared to Caleb Johnson? I don't know. I know it's Jazzy was still in some of those I formation and seemed like obvious running situations, and he
Yeah,
was able to capitalize. So I don't know. I don't know if they're stacking the box more against Caleb than they are Jazzy. And I don't know. I didn't review it, but that could be a factor. I agree with you. I think I don't know. It just seems like he's more of a north south runner. He hits the hole and he goes.
I will say like with Caleb, I think like because I want to get Caleb going. Like
Yeah.
I think it's only going to help our offense if our number one running back is a stud out there. And so far, like we
Yeah.
went into the season kind of expecting him to be really good. And I brought this up to Austin yesterday. I said, freshman year, Caleb looked really good. And I think it's because, he was a freshman and you don't think much, you're just going, I feel like now that he's like, another year in,
Right.
maybe he's like a little overthinking things. Like, and
Yeah.
sometimes you can't do that. Like sometimes you see that with running backs as the years go on, they almost like Tyler Goodson, for example. Remember how good he was freshman year? And then like
Yeah.
he was still good the following years, but like it almost felt like he kind of dropped off a little bit because it was almost like he was overthinking things. And he was once again kind of like not knowing, like instead of just hitting
Expecting
the
more from
hole.
himself and just kind
Yeah.
of like, yeah, like deeper knowledge of the offense, which is good, but it's almost like you said, it's like he's not just out there playing. Yeah.
And with Caleb though, like, is it something where like, like to get him going, like, do we run maybe more out of shotgun with him? Maybe try to
Yeah.
spread the defense out a little bit more and run out of shotgun with Caleb.
Yeah.
That's one thing, like, I just don't understand. Like yesterday, maybe we did a few plays, but like, why don't we run out of shotgun more? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like when we have 3 or 4 wide receivers out there and you have the defense spread out, why are we not running the ball more out of shotgun? There's so many run plays that you can do out of shotgun formation. I just don't get it. And with like Caleb, with him being a little slower-ish, he's still pretty fast. He just kind of looks kind of slow. Running out of shotgun where you don't have 8, 9 guys in the box might help. So just things like that where like I hope that we can figure something out for Caleb because I want to get him going. It sucks seeing him not have the success out there because we know his potential. And just I hope that we can figure something out.
Yeah, I was going to say in his defense, I mean, there's times where they're putting him out there on third and 1, 3rd and 2, and it's the heaviest formation, and what Iowa State's going to do. We all sitting at our own couches know what's going to happen.
Yep.
It's going to be a 5-yard loss. because that's what it seems like this has been trending towards on first down, sometimes consistently, referring to last year. And now I saw it again this year a little bit, or just like towards the end of the game where the offense can kind of ice the game. We put him out there and it's an obvious running down. We're not creative. We hand the ball off and it's minus a yard. And all of a sudden it's 4th and 2 instead of 3rd and 1. And it's like, in his defense, it's like, what are you expecting? Like you expecting a 50-yard run when there's 10 guys in the box? No. So yeah, I agree. We got to figure out something for him.
You kind of led to that last thing I want to talk about the offense before we switch to the defense is what you were just saying with the play calling sometimes, especially when we get up. It's just,
I know, dude.
It's like, what? Like,
as a fan,
I don't get it.
I want to say this. As a fan, it's just hard to watch because it's like,
it is.
For once in our life, can I have the offense just put the game away?
Yeah.
Like, I want to win 27-6. Like, can we just go march down the field, put the game away and be done with it? No, we give the ball back. Iowa State scores and it's on a 4th and 9 or 10 or whatever it is, a one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. It's like, then what do? 3 and out, run it right up the middle on 3rd down, minus 1 yard with Caleb Johnson, give the ball back. And once again, have to put it in the hands of our defense. It's like, I understand the odds are we're still going to win that game. And we did. And I'm glad. And like I said, I'm obviously stoked that we won the game. It's just, man, I don't know if it's 2023 and I want this offense to be better. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just long-term success that way, in my opinion, it's going to be hard, especially in the bigger games, to win that way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, we bitch obviously all the time about the offense. And like, I think I think you agree here. Like, I don't want to see like obviously, yes, I would love to see a whole new offense, but like, no, I think the offense when it's working. But the one thing is like the tendencies. It's like the predictable, like we are so predictable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just so annoying because there's times out there where like we know what's going to happen.
We're sitting on the couch. We know exactly what's happening. What do you think the 12 players on defense know? If we know that, they know that. So we do it every time. We never, like you said, we never change it up where the defense has to at least respect something different,
respect
right?
It. Yep.
They don't have to.
So there was 2 drives in particular. So the one, this was in the first half. This was after we scored. I think we were up. Maybe it was after the first touchdown. We were up 10-0 and we get a 3 and out and we get the ball. And I remember like it's TV timeout. I'm like, okay, this is the time where we take a shot or we attack now. We're up 10-0. But then I remember we came back out and I think it was like 2 run plays in a row. Both got stuck. I mean, it was a 3 and out. And it's like, it's things like that. It's like, why? Like we have them where we want them. Yeah. I know it's only the first half, but like we're to the point of the game where like you're up 10-0. And like, if we score again, and this was obviously before the pick 6, like we're probably going to win this game with our defense. So, but what do? We just, we're up now. Let's go back to our old ways. Another drive where I don't know what we ran on first down, but we got like 4 yards and it was 2nd and 6. What do? We do a run play. We get stuffed minus 2 yards. And then the 3rd down play is the play that we threw to Devontae Vines, which once again, Cade underthrew, but it's like, why don't we run that play on 2nd down where, okay, you don't get it. Then it's 3rd and 6 and then you can run something, but no, like we just, it's just like, sometimes we just do things where it's like, we almost make it too hard on ourselves. And, those 3rd down and 1s, 3rd down and 2s, it's like, maybe once in a while you don't run the ball. Maybe you do something different. Like, let's keep the defense guessing. It's so obvious sometimes. And that's my one knock, like with Brian, like, it is what it is with him being the offense coordinator, but it's like, dude, like, can you at least change that up? Can you stop being so predictable where like we sitting on the couch now, you don't think the people that are making $2, $3 million, $4 million on the sidelines don't understand what's coming? So that's the one knock that like, it's just like, can we fix that?
Yep. And I agree. And that's where that's, I think, where we want to see the growth in the offense, right? We're not talking about changing how we run or throw the ball. We're talking about tendencies and converting on short yardage situations where it shouldn't be as hard as it is. And it just seems like more often than not, it keeps getting tougher and tougher. And I that needs to improve because I think that's going to be bigger It's going to be more prominent in some of these tougher games down the road.
I think didn't we have, and I don't know, maybe this wasn't, I thought this was 3rd down and 1 yesterday where we actually did a play action pass on 3rd and 1 and we connected to Eric All for like that 20, 30 yard. Was that, I think that was a 3rd and 1, but it's like things like that. It's like, why aren't we doing that more often?
Yep. And I think the guy calling the game, Brock, or whatever his name is, he called it on like, he goes, one of these plays needs to be a play action. I don't know if you caught that. And it was on that last drive where we obviously got stuffed and we had to give the ball back. He goes, preferably 2nd down, play action, go win the game. Don't give it back to Iowa State. Obviously, the 2nd down run play actually was productive and it was a 3rd and 1. And then at that point, it scared me because I'm like, well, I know what's going to happen. We're going to run the ball. But they know that too. And yeah, it just seems like, I don't know. I wish that would change. I don't know exactly what you call there. But just being as predictable as it is, I just, and you know, you made a good point. Jazzy Patterson actually on 3rd downs and in short yardage situations have been getting some 1st downs throughout that game. And he wasn't in there at that point. And you know, he'd been having success. Whereas Caleb Johnson, kind of everyone expects him to run right up the middle and he's been getting stuff. So yeah, maybe Jazzy would have got that. I don't know. He hit the hole harder yesterday than Caleb. So I'm not saying that there wouldn't have been a good chance he would have got that.
Yeah. Let's switch to the defense quick. I know we talked a lot about the offense. Defensively, which, okay, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, but did you see Utah State? Granted, they played a shit team, but did you see they put up 78 points last night? I don't know if you saw that or not.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they played Idaho State or something, or I forgot who they played.
Oh, okay. I think I did see.
Once again, terrible team, but like still putting up 78 points. So again, like last week, like it kind of shows like, I think for like their unique style and on how hot of a day it was, I think like our defense, people were kind of giving shit. I think our defense played a lot better than what people said.
I will say this.
That's number one.
If we play Idaho State, we're not putting up 78 points. I can tell you that.
No, we're not.
So let's not, just because they're a shit team. I mean, we play Idaho State, we're not putting up 78.
No.
So that's a good point.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out. But so going into this game, I said this on the podcast. I said, I really think Iowa State's game plan is going to be like a low risk, low reward with Rocco because he's a new quarterback. He's a young quarterback. He's going up against a really good defense. Like they're not going to try to do things. And sure enough, that's exactly what they did. They did not do the game plan of like 2021 with Brock, where like, you know, he's an experienced quarterback. Let's let it sling out there. No, they low risk, low reward. He had 44 throws, and 4.4, I think, 4.6 yards per attempt. So like very just short yard, dink and dunk type plays. And I fully expected that. And, you know, that first drive, I thought they kind of scripted up a good first drive. And it's kind of typical with Iowa's defense. I feel like under Phil Parker is that first drive is always kind of iffy.
Let's see what they do. Adjust, and then let's adjust. Because I got nervous after that first drive, and you were texting me, and you're like, "This is typical of Iowa. We don't look great. We let them move the ball down the field, and it's like something happens where we makes a few adjustments, and we are able to execute after that." So,
I thought the player of the game for defense was Sebastian Castro. I mean, he looked like he did against Kentucky in the bowl game, just all over the field. I mean, even that one play that no one talks about, that one where like they would have got a first down, and he got his the football right on the fingertips. He deflected the pass. I don't know if you remember that play or not, but like it was plays like that. It was a 3rd down and like 9. And if he doesn't do that, like the guy, the guy catches it for a first down. No one talks about that play, but that was a huge play. But obviously you have the pick 6. He had some great tackles. Like he was all over the field. He was my player of the game on defense. I thought defensive line for the most part played pretty good. I thought, there was maybe a few instances where I wish we would got a little bit more pressure with just the defensive line, but I thought for the most part, they could not get anything going in the run game, which was good to see. And then, really the biggest thing was just like they were attacking Deshaun Lee, young corner. I thought Deshaun played decent. Obviously, that last one, it's just tough. I mean, that was a tough.
I mean,
it was good offense.
He was right there. It's not like he got beat, right? He was right there. They made a good throw and obviously a hell of a catch.
Yeah, that was a really good throw by Rocco. I mean, he put it right where it needed to be. And then, yeah, great
Yeah.
throw or great catch. Can't really do much there. Deshaun Lee, though, I mean, for the most part, played pretty good for how much they kind of attacked him.
Right.
I will say this, though. I am pumped to have Jamari Harris back next week. And that's no knock on Deshaun Lee, but it's just like, I
Oh
can't
yeah.
wait to have that experienced corner. We kind of
More
know what
depth
we have.
and experience, right?
Yep. But I think it was almost a blessing in disguise that this did happen, because I think now if someone gets hurt, I'm
Yeah.
feeling a little bit more confident. Okay, we have this guy on the bench, Deshaun Lee, who can come in. And not only that, but
Yeah.
like in certain situations, we can bring in Deshaun Lee,
Yeah.
nickel formation, nickel thing or whatever. You can
Yeah.
have him out there. So
At least you feel confident when he's out there.
yeah. So
You're not like, who is this guy type of thing.
yep,
So,
exactly. Because
yeah.
obviously going into the season, it was one of those things where it was like, God, who is our third corner?
Yeah.
Can someone
You
step
did
up?
ask that question. Yeah.
Yep. Is it going to be Deshaun Lee? Is it going to be TJ Hall? Can they do it? And I
Yeah.
thought for the most part, I think Deshaun Lee did a good job. Utah State was a good test for him. And then obviously at Iowa State, and once again, Iowa State's game plan was let's attack him. I mean, they threw the ball his way a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, but there was actually a play, maybe it was in the first half, maybe it was that first drive where they threw it up to a receiver in the end zone and he actually deflected the pass. So like plays like that, like he did a good job. It was just that obviously that last play was just tough. So, but I am really excited to welcome back Jamari Harris next week. I think it's going to be awesome.
Get a game under his belt against Western Michigan heading into Penn State. That'll be, yeah.
I mean, we sit here and we're like, our defense is, in my opinion, I think people are a little too harsh on our defense so far this year. I think our defense has been playing good. It's not obviously as good as last year. I'm not trying to say that. I didn't really think it was going to be. I mean, you lose Jack Campbell, you lose some good players, Lucas Van Ness. It's not. Yep, Merriweather, Riley Moss. Like, it's not going to be as good, but like, it's still going to be really good, especially when you get Jamari Harris back, and hopefully Noah Shannon at some point can come back. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I'm hoping, right now it's a full year. Hopefully his appeal goes through and it's maybe a half a year. Because can you imagine if we get Noah Shannon back? Like how good our defensive line is going to be with him? But like at least we get Jamari Harris back, and like that just helps our secondary so much.
Yeah, and I would say like in a few years we'll be in the same position where I think our back end will be so good because of how much experience with Xavier and Deshaun Lee and all those pieces that are younger right now but are getting really good experience. And I agree with you. I think the defense gave up 13 points yesterday. I mean, it almost felt like it was too much. And I said this, it's like, our offense kind of puts our defense in those tough spots a few times where we're going 3 and out. The defense isn't going to be perfect every time. The offense isn't perfect every time. We can't expect it to be like last year where our defense is bailing us out. And honestly, the defense, they did. I mean, Sebastian Castro had a pick 6, right? I mean, that's like the game right there, essentially. So, I mean, that's your 7 points that we won by. So credit to them. I mean, they played really well. And I agree with you. I mean, Rocco had like twice as many attempts as Cade, yet he had like less yards per completion than Cade. So it just goes to show that they were minimizing Rocco's like ability to turn it over. Obviously the pick 6 was huge, but and then the fact they wanted to slow down the defensive line, I think they didn't want to allow him to drop back to pass and take those hits and force a turnover.
John Miller, I was listening to his podcast. He said like good analogy, like it almost felt like they had Rocco on like training wheels. Like they just didn't really want him to
game manager to the max.
Yeah.
Just low, like you said, low risk, low reward type of throwing from him. Yesterday.
I wonder if Rocco will end up being a good quarterback at Iowa State. Like he's obviously young and it's so hard to tell, but like it is true. Like, I don't know, like he shows flashes, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll wait and see on that. I mean, that's something where if we were a cycling podcast, we can ponder, but cause like, it's one of those things where it's like, I wonder if at some point they'll go to JJ Cole because I think he has more of an upside, but obviously he's really young. Another thing that I was listening to John Miller and he brought this up and I thought it was kind of like cool. He said that a long time ago, he went out to dinner with Norm Parker, who used to be the defensive coordinator before Phil. And obviously Phil Phil's philosophies are just like Norm's. And he was saying that at dinner one time, Norm was telling him that 85% of college quarterbacks don't have the patience against the way Iowa's defense is, where we kind of let you do things right in a way.
Yep.
But
Kind of
then
let you build a confidence.
yeah, but then
essentially
the patience kind of runs out. And you saw that yesterday with that pick six, right? It's things like that. And he was also saying that there's every single game, there's about 4 to 6 drives where we almost kind of like allow you to go down the field. But then most of those drives, though, if you think about it, end up being just field goals, which is very deflating for the offense. Yeah. And when you think about that, it is true. Those drives where we kind of let the defense or the offense kind of go down the field, burn off a lot of time, and then it ends up 20, 30-yard line. We close it. We're done. Bend but don't break. Field goal. Yep. And then you have to rely on your special teams to make those field goals. Obviously, yesterday we had the block punt, our block kick. So I don't know. It's kind of cool to hear that, how our defense kind of operates, and that's kind of how our philosophy is, and it works, man.
It's hard. You're right. It's hard to dink and dunk for 4 quarters, right? As a quarterback, I think
your patience runs out.
And if you're down by a score, right, you might be more willing to take a risk. And then what happens? Sebastian Castro goes the other way. So that's a good story there. I mean, that you see that at week in and week out, it seems like, where, we do end up forcing a turnover. So it's a good point.
Yeah. I remember hearing this story. John Miller talked about it after the Maryland game in 2021. And he talked about it because I remember that game where
had freaking
yes, it kind of remember the first quarter though, Maryland actually looked pretty dang good. And we were just kind of hey, we were letting them do. And then finally, it's just their patience runs out. They try to throw it over the middle of the field or whatever. And it's we're here. So
all of a sudden get a hand up, get a tip ball and go the other way, or just force them into a bad throw. So
it is going to be if Jamari Harris this is very random, but if he's as good as what he was back in 2021, obviously he missed all of last year. Where do quarterbacks throw the ball? Because you can't really throw it Cooper's way. He's so good. And then if Jamari can be kind of where he was at 2 years ago, it's going to be tough for quarterbacks, right? These last 2 weeks, it's let's attack Deshaun Lee, this young guy that's never played. But it's okay, what are you going to do now when Jamari Harris is back? Now that's if Jamari Harris is up to what he was. Who knows?
And
maybe he won't be. Yeah, and it might. That's why I'm glad he at least has next week.
Yeah, 100%.
So
it's a good point.
Definitely, and we'll talk about this on Wednesday, or I guess Thursday's podcast. This Western Michigan game is definitely a tune-up game. You're heading into Big Ten play. I think as of right now, the way Penn State's looking, I don't think that's going to be a win. But can we at least go in there and be respectable? We don't necessarily need to win that game because it's not a Big Ten West team, but it's definitely next week though a tune-up game for that game. There's things that we need to get better on if we even have a chance to go in there, right? And so I'm hoping that the Western Michigan game we can start kind of connecting on some things offensively where we're feeling a little bit more confident going into Penn State. Because for me, like I said, that Penn State game, it's a loss more than likely. Be sweet if we went in there and win, but can we at least be respectable going into that game?
Yeah, I think Iowa State was the first measuring stick, going into Ames, going into hostile environment. We talked about that with Cade. We came out victorious. That's the first one. And then, like you said, next week is going to be a game where I think hopefully it gets out of hand quickly enough where we can get healthy. Don't have to worry about too many injuries during the game. And right, like you said, that Penn State game will be a good measuring stick of, where we're at early on in the season, how we stack up against the top end teams of the Big Ten. So
I'm curious to see. So Penn State, they play West Virginia week 1. West Virginia is not a very good football team this year. And then they played Delaware yesterday and got, kicked their ass. Yeah. They do go on the road though. First time on the road. I know Illinois obviously has not shown to be very good, but it's still road game, 11 a.m. next week. I think that's going to really tell us, if they go into Illinois and just beat the brakes off of them, then it's okay, this Penn State team honestly, is.
As a Penn State fan, you're probably shit. Illinois lost or almost lost the first game, comes out, gets their butts kicked against Kansas. They're gonna. That's not that's kind of a situation where if you're Penn State, it's damn,
Yep. Especially the first road game of the season.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, that'll be, like I said, like,
Tell us a lot.
Yeah, I will. Like, I'm excited to kind of watch. Well, I guess I won't be able to watch that game, but like, I'm excited to see what the final score is because I think it'll be a good, like, okay, maybe we have a chance, yeah, this team is really freaking good. Because as of right now, like, even though they haven't played anyone that good, like, they are looking really good.
I mean, essentially, win, lose, or draw next week for Penn State. It's still going to be very tough to go into Happy Valley at a night game. Yeah,
wish that game was at home.
I know, dude.
But well, I think that'll be it for this episode. I think I had some notes. I think we kind of hashed out all the things that I thought I saw. I don't know if you have any final thoughts.
The other part is obviously the blocked kick at the beginning, right? The game essentially came down to defense and special teams, like what it always seems to come down in the last how many years. So that's just kind of my overall thoughts, and obviously just very glad to get the Cy-Hawk Trophy back in Iowa City where it belongs, and obviously looking forward to seeing you this next week here in Kinnick. So.
Yep, and weather-wise, it's looking great. I actually looked this morning, 75 degrees, no humidity because the winds are out of the north. Like, it's gonna be a beautiful day.
And you know what? Honestly, I think that's gonna bode well for us offensively and just as a team this week compared to that first week in Kinnick. It was so hot, man, and you saw the players that
it absolutely sucked.
Like, players are cramping, heat related issues. Like, I don't know. Yep. That was one of the hottest games I've ever been to. So I'm excited to be able to sit back and enjoy this one.
Well, especially because it's a 2:30 game. So the sun's already going to be over the press box. It's only going to be a high of 75. Like, it's going to feel so good. I mean, that first game, man, 20 degrees warmer, direct sunlight, humidity kind of like, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. So
that was one of the tougher ones to sit through for
it was
at least a half. Yeah.
Yeah. So my final thoughts are defense is good. I had optimism on the offense. It clearly, obviously, like there's just things we need to get better. We need to tune up, but there's optimism. Like Cade, I feel so confident in Cade. Like, we finally have a quarterback where I feel confident in.
Yeah.
One last thing, actually, I love seeing Cade those possessions where like things don't really work out. He gets freaking pissed. Like, you could tell he gets mad, and I love that out of a quarterback.
Throws his arm.
Yeah, and like you could tell like goes on the sideline, like he's talking. Like, you didn't see that with Petrus. He would just clap. We'll get him next time. Like, I love that. Just like I think he holds people accountable. Like, dude, come on, like let's go.
Yeah. He knows the offense was bad last year. He knows it. He wants to prove the doubters wrong, and he wants to get this offense back to where he thinks it should be. And I love that too. I love that out of the quarterback, the leader of the offense. Everyone kind of feeds off that energy. So I love that.
Yep, exactly. Well, that will be it for this episode. We'll be back in a few days. Until then, we're going to go watch some NFL football.
That's right, man.
It's going to be a great Sunday. So we'll see you guys on Thursday. Go Hawks.